Alrighty. Hello, everybody. My name is Mia Joseph, and I work for the Veterans Resource Center. And here I have Miss Danielle, and she's really great. I love her. And today we're going to be talking about strengthening our resumes because not everything you do in the service can be easily transferred over into civilian life. So we want this specifically geared towards that. But I was a dependent, and so I also use this resource, and it was really great in working towards like applying for stuff. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mia. That was a very sweet introduction, and I'm excited to be presenting today. So like Mia said, my name is Daniela Caracchi Suarez, but I also go by Danny as I've done veteran resource drop-ins in the past. So that's how many of the veterans may recognize me. I'm one of the career advisors here at NSU's Center for Academic and Professional Success. So today I'll be presenting on strengthening your resume as a veteran. One thing that's just helpful to keep in mind in general is that I actually host weekly virtual career drop-ins. They're every Thursday from 12 to 1 p.m., which is about this time frame right now. So anytime somebody wants to hop into my Zoom room, the posters should be around the Veteran Resource Center, and it's also available on social media for both the CAPS Instagram and the VRC Instagram. So checking in any Thursday to talk about anything career related, really. I'm available to talk about resumes and cover letters, job searching, grad school planning. If you want to discuss like changing your career path since leaving the military, I'm very open to having those kinds of conversations. So anything that it is that you're seeking that relates to your own career path, like finding shadowing, etc., more than happy to help all the time. So I know today's focus is mainly going to be on resumes and CVs, but I'll touch a little bit on things like job searching and networking as well along the way. So starting off on what is a resume and a CV. CV is a very common term that's used, and I get a lot of questions about what's the difference between the two. So a CV stands for curriculum vitae, and really that is Latin for course of your life. So a resume, it's really like a marketing tool that lists a lot of the experiences that you've done over the course of your undergraduate career, military, a lot of different things that you've done that don't just involve your job, but also things like your education, leadership, volunteering. And a CV is basically that document plus more. So a CV is often used for people who want to go into academics or healthcare or apply to grad school. So you can see a CV usually having more pages than a resume typically would. A resume you can typically find being that 1 to 2 page sweet spot, whereas a CV I've seen as long as like 7, 8, or 9 pages sometimes, because people are involving things like a lot more details about the experiences they've done, publications, research, certifications. They really expand, and CVs allow you to really expand and talk about all the experiences you've done. If you are working on mainly a resume, which is mainly used when you are applying for just jobs, you want to make sure that it's relevant and keeping things that are more recent experiences. So I try to tell people to keep a resume relevant and recent. I try to cap it at no more than really 8 to, if an experience is 8 to 10 years old, we may want to think about starting to shed it off the resume and focus on what's more recent. Not to say that experience needs to leave at all, but you can put it on like a LinkedIn profile or a master resume so you can still retain it and use it at any time if you do feel it's helpful. So for a resume, you do want to try to keep it as short and easy to read as possible. Depending on your industry too, I know within like finance or business, that 1 pager really is the sweet spot. Whereas if you're going more into like, let's say teaching or in a public health career, a 2 pager might seem a little bit more feasible. You want to make it so that it interests the employers so that they can invite you for the interview. This is really the key point of having a resume, is just catching their attention with some key words and highlights that really can get them to want to bring you in. That way the interview is where you can really sell everything that you've done to them. As a veteran too, you have plenty of leadership and collaboration skills that you can showcase to them in the resume, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that soon. Really, the main 3 things to look at in a resume are the content. So that's really the bulk and the meat of the experiences that you have. The format, which is how you're organizing a lot of these things and what you're prioritizing. And finally, the style. Just, is it clean? Is it easy to look at and looks organized? And an employer would see that and see that you yourself are a professional person. Those are like the 3 main pieces, and we'll go a little bit more into that as well. So when you think about a resume, a lot of people ask, what are the things I can even include on a resume? And there's so many potential headings that you can have. One thing that I do see sometimes is students having everything under just a basic heading that says experience. But really, there's a lot of more targeted headings you can use that can really focus on the main things that you've done. Some examples being professional experience, military experience, internships, and then a few of these, just name a few others that you could potentially list. I know I have a lot of veteran students I've worked with who want to go into some sort of health professional program like med school or dental school. So you can have a whole heading called shadowing experience or healthcare experience and really focus on those specific things at the top. You can also have your community service, related coursework, presentations and awards. I know many of my veterans who have come to me have their own certifications or awards and honors they've earned by being in the military. And those are great headings that you can include definitely. And that way you can showcase what it is you've been able to accomplish over your time in the military. And lastly, key skills is another great one to include. I know a lot of the students that I work with want to go into some sort of, let's say, technical field like IT or computer science. So key skills is a place that you can put some of those programming languages that you're familiar with, or if you know Photoshop or Illustrator, you can put that there. Along with if you've learned any languages along the way, like Spanish, Italian, French, you can put that under a key skills as well. So here's an example of how to structure something like education, for example. Within a resume, you want to always have everything in reverse chronological order, which means whatever's most recent goes on top. That's why you see this master's degree before the bachelor's. And then we really want to be strategic about what we choose to bold and italicize. So you can see in this example here for education, I don't have my education heading bolded because really what I want the employer to see is the degree name itself. That's more important than bolding education or bolding Nova, because really what they want to see is what are you getting a degree in? So for example, for a master's degree, I'm writing out completely Master of Science in Conflict Analysis and Resolution. Same with the bachelor's degree, I'm writing that out completely. Bachelor of Science in Human Development. So when you're putting it on your resume, you do want to find out what's the complete degree name that you are achieving. That way you can put it on the resume here. I know within the College of Business, it's a little unique. They have Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration, and then you would also add the major. So it'd be like in marketing. So it's a pretty long title, and it's good for you to know because that's what it's going to look like on your degree. Then what we always try to do too is balance out the resume on the left and the right-hand side of the page. So I like putting the bulk of like the titles, the organizations and companies on the left, and on the right is where we put things like dates and locations. So you can see for education, I don't want to put that I started this degree in August 2020 to present, because employers, what they mainly want to see is when are you graduating or when are you anticipating to graduate? That's why I put here May 2020. So if I graduated in May 2020 or plan to graduate in May 2023, that's the month and year I'm going to put for my education. And then city, state right under, and it keeps it really balanced for the rest of the resume. So one thing I like to talk about a lot is for my veteran students to put the experiences that they gained in the military. There's so many valuable skills that you're showcasing to these employers by having been in the military that it's so important for you to just showcase what you've been doing over the past couple of years. So there's a lot of transferable skills that you can show them as you enter your new career path, whether it's the same technical side that you may be going, or even if it's a completely different career path from the military to civilian life. For example, as an example I have here, I've worked with Air Force veterans that often have technical skills. And if they want to go into IT, those are very transferable skills we can find a way to input on the resume. Same with my Navy veterans who may have logistical or operations skills. We can use that and make it transferable on the resume. One thing to keep an eye out for too is many companies have actually had some veteran seeking initiatives. So you actually have a preference being a veteran that you have more of a likelihood of being chosen or at least interviewed by showcasing some sort of military experience on the resume. We just get creative sometimes with the titles that you held in the military. For example, like Army infantrymen, maybe you can go into athletic training, or we can find a way to make that relate. And same with Marine squadron leader. Maybe we can make that relate over to like a management training position and show those transferable leadership skills you gained. Very often, a lot of the military people I work with have brought me the VMed DD form 2586. So this is a form that you should get as soon as you finish with the military. It often lists your military education, your experience, and your training, and it provides you with a lot of different information that could really be helpful when you're updating your resume. And we can include a lot of those awards, honors, and professional organizations you were a part of during your time in the military. So these are some helpful tools and resources, even websites that I refer to back sometimes because they really update themselves on different languages that are very helpful when it comes to the transferable skills you gained in the job you did in the military. So my two top favorite websites are My Next Move for veterans and military.com, which has a military skills translator. So I'll actually share my screen just to show an example of what these websites look like. So this is mynextmove.org, and there's a /vets. So here, there's 3 different options of what you can go into. You can either very specifically say, I want to be and search a career name. Or maybe you want to stay in some specific industry. So this way, you can narrow it down to like government jobs, health and counseling management jobs. Or let's say you're trying to find a job similar to what you did in the military, but you're not quite sure what that civilian job title would look like. So maybe you want to select a branch. Let's say you were in the Army and you were a radio operator. So if you type that and click find, you can find the transferable like civilian job titles that are relevant and can help you find a position that you would be interested in doing nowadays. For example, there's radio, cellular, and tower equipment installers and repairers, heavy and tractor trailer truck drivers, construction laborers. There's different positions if you're wanting something similar, or at the very least, clicking one of these can help you develop bullet points for relevant things that you did while in the military. And then this is the military skills translator on military.com. Very similar, you can select your branch, the job title you had, and it can also help you find jobs that are similar to that in locations around the US. So going back here, there's a few other websites here that are really helpful, like Service to School, which is a whole website initiative made for helping and mentoring veterans who want to go into grad or professional school. A few of these listed below, like Transition Assistance, USA Jobs, Vet Jobs, Hire a Hero. Those are great websites if you're looking for a place that really values hiring veterans and has veteran seeking initiatives. And I've even seen my own veterans do really well with this one website called Veteran Owned Businesses, because there you're really able to connect with businesses that do have veteran CEOs that do want to have some great networking opportunities or hire people who understand what it's like coming from the military and being a veteran, because there's a lot that can really help out with understanding that perspective and being able to network with someone who's been through the same experience as you. A lot of my students, they also want to apply for federal positions or continue to work within the government. So one great thing to keep in mind when it comes to uploading or developing your federal resume is you want to include your veteran's preference. So that's something you can include under your contact info when they ask things like your name, your email, your address. You can also include your veteran's preference, which basically gives you extra points ahead of a lot of other applicants applying for very competitive government jobs. And they will more likely take a look at your application, being that you are a veteran. I believe if you are a veteran with a disability, you get 10 points of preference, and with no disability, you get 5 points of preference. So it's a fantastic thing for you to include for these federal jobs, because you definitely get a 1-up when it comes to maybe 100 applicants applying for one position. Federal resumes, it's also okay if they're a couple of pages longer than a regular resume, because they do want a lot of details on things like your dates, your salary, supervisor information, how many hours you worked in a job. Even if it was in different places that you were deployed, you can put all those different units and say the hours you worked. They want you to really expand on those job duties. And sometimes, as opposed to like the typical bullet points you would put on a resume, they're okay with you having those paragraphs for each job that you worked. You may want to take more of the keywords that were on the job description for that specific government job and use that on your resume. And then feel free to also include all those accomplishments you had from the military, even being here at NSU. Like if you've been on Dean's List, or if you're here on a scholarship, you can go ahead and list that as well. So just some examples of how to civilianize some terms. You want to try to avoid military jargon as much as possible, just so when an HR representative receives the resume, they want to be able to understand what you're trying to showcase that you did. So as an example, maybe instead of using words like squad or platoon, you may want to use words like team that are a lot more transferable to the civilian workplace, and an HR manager would be able to understand what it is you did there. Another example is like translating those military acronyms or job titles into civilian equivalents, such as NCO of the quarter, maybe to manager of the quarter, because that's something a lot of people would be able to understand. And things also like maybe command and mission, you may want to switch those over into words that may not be seen as much in a harsh light, maybe something more as like lead a team or lead through an initiative. Those could be different words you can translate, and career advisors on my team can always help out whenever you want to have an appointment or hop into the drop-ins as well. We also have a great handout here that's available on Handshake if you go to the resources for our veteran students. I believe this file is also available in like the actual physical location of the Veteran Resource Center as well. But it's just a quick one sheet that goes through a lot of common terms that are used and their civilian term alternative if you want to just have a quick 1-2 to look and switch over those words on your resume so far. So one example of how to switch over a sentence, if you did want to make a bullet point, for example, let's say you were a platoon commander and you acted as a platoon commander and led a team of patrols through Fallujah, Iraq to disarm IEDs. A more civilianized way to say that for an HR manager who may have not experienced being in the military before so that they can understand that in more terms that they're familiar with would maybe be something more along the lines of acted as a team supervisor in training, motivating, and leading a team of 35 members, which resulted in a 92% success rate for a particular set of tasks. So you can see here, it's a lot more specific about what it is that you did, how many people you were working with, and what the results were. It's very quantified, which they really appreciate seeing as well. This is an example of really how to build those bullet points. You want to take the project, the action, and the result. So what's the project in that situation? Maybe a 50-person team by providing individual coaching and mentorship. What did you do? What was the action? It was you supervised them. And the result was to foster professional development. So as an example, you can see below what that would look like in an actual experience on the resume. So this is as a team leader for the United States Army. And I wrote it out completely. Supervised a 30-person team by providing individual coaching and mentorship to foster professional development. So whenever you think about how you want to build a bullet point, you can really take what was on that DD form that we had mentioned earlier and maybe switch it up a little bit to make sure it starts with a strong verb like supervised, collaborated, led, and focus on those quantities of how many people or things that you worked with. This is something, of course, in the career development team, we're always happy to help work on your resumes and your bullet points and help it apply to the jobs that you are wanting to send your application out for. So when it comes to job and internship searching, I did want to note that LinkedIn and Handshake are some fantastic websites that I always highly recommend. Handshake especially, just because we cater a lot of those positions to our NSU students and alum. And whenever you do apply for a job, if you're working with a career advisor, let them know and send over your resume because they can go ahead and send a referral on your end and let them know that you are, let the company know that you are a fantastic NSU student veteran, put in some great words about your initiatives and your leadership skills. And that can really help you out a lot in getting that interview and standing out amongst the other candidates. Getting started by using LinkedIn and networking with individuals who are either NSU alum or in companies you want to work with can be really helpful as well. And we can help you with practicing and perfecting that elevator pitch on how it is you want to introduce yourself. And lastly, another great thing to do is just seek veteran preference initiatives and recruitment programs, because even after leaving the military, there's a lot of different companies that do specifically say they are seeking veterans just based on a lot of the skills and teamwork abilities and leadership they know you've gained from being in that position. So even if you go on job search filters and you type in the word veteran or veteran finance, whatever it might be, whatever field you're looking for, you're going to find a lot of different opportunities there. And so one thing I also want to talk about is that we actually have a lot of great resources for our veterans as well, one being a veteran sample resume book. So this is something that myself and another career advisor, Alicia, had worked on previously. And I'll go ahead and share it as well. You can find it on Handshake by clicking on Career Center, scrolling down to resources, and we have a whole resource dedicated to our veteran students. Let me see if I can scroll down and find it. Veteran resources right here. So you'll see there's the first attachment on this page is the veteran resume book. And scrolling through, you're going to see this is a book that we created. It's 15 pages long, just showcasing befores and after civilianizing different resumes in different industries. So we have like a computer science, IT, business, finance, logistics, pre-health, and athletics and sports training. So really scrolling through here, you can find some sample strong verbs we recommend, some sample resumes of what they look like before civilianizing and after. And something like this can be a great place for you to start if you haven't built your resume yet and want to get some ideas of where it is you can get started. And the next piece I wanted to mention is just career development events in general. If you go on Handshake and search for some of the events that we have a lot of great info sessions from employers coming in. We have some pre-health workshops happening on a monthly basis that really keep you informed on how to be competitive for med school or dental school. And lastly, we actually have our career fair taking place next month. It's called our Recruit a Shark Week. And every day of that week, it's going to be the week of March 23rd. Every day of that week is dedicated to a different industry. So if you are a business major versus exercise science, or if you're in biology seeking a research opportunity, we have different days dedicated to you and different opportunities you might be seeking. So really with that as well, if you explore around Handshake and go to events, you can click career fair and choose the day that works best for you, whether it's marine biology, psychology, etc. What you would do is pick the day that you're interested in. So this, for example, is a graduate and professional school fair for our students who are not necessarily wanting to get a job right after graduating, but more want to take that next step in their education and go to professional or graduate school. You can look at some of the employers or the schools that are going to be there. For example, we have Embry-Riddle, FIU, Jacksonville University, Louisiana State for Public Health, Lynn. You can look through and see, are any of the programs here the ones that I've been looking at? And then if you scroll down, you can click Remo, which is our virtual career platform, because all of these events will be virtual and remote this year. So you can access it from anywhere you are. Just click here to the Remo link. That way you can save yourself a spot and just enter in your name and email. So you can see I already registered for the event because I plan on being at the grad and professional school fair. But if you click save me a spot, you'll be able to enter your name, email, and save yourself a link. That way you can access it later on that day, which is Thursday, March 25th from 12 to 2, whereas all the other ones are on different dates of that same week as well. And lastly, just as I've said before, we always have appointments available and drop-ins, whether it be my drop-ins for specifically veterans every Thursday, 12 to 1, or if you want to come in, we have drop-ins available all week from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. if you just call our office, and we always have a career advisor on call. And lastly, this is something Mia and I were actually just talking about before this presentation. The Veteran Resource Center, they do a great job at really bulking up Freedom Sharks, which is the student organization meant for both our student veterans on campus, the affiliates, even civilians on campus, really a place for them all to get together. And it's a great way if you haven't felt like you've got to do anything since the military and you're wanting to get your foot in the door and start building more experiences at NSU. Getting involved with Freedom Sharks, joining the events, and seeing if you want to be on the e-board is an awesome thing to get started with. And I can help you put that on your resume so you can already show you're participating in events, meetings, and networking with individuals. So just as a follow-up to a lot of the things that I've summed up here today, we always have advisors available, whether it's drop-ins from 8:30 to 5 p.m. By calling our office, or just making appointments if you want to talk with us for a full 30-minute or hour-long appointment. We are located in the Horwitz Administration Building, but we are still having some virtual, whether it's via Zoom or phone appointments at the moment. So our phone number is 954-262-7990, and you can always book an appointment via not via Handshake anymore. Handshake has a lot of the jobs, but now all our appointments are on Navigate. So the same place that you're booking your appointments for academic advising, that's where you can book the career ones as well. So thank you all for joining me today. It was a wonderful pleasure to be able to present on how to strengthen your resume and do that job searching. And I'm always available for any kinds of questions that you all may have. My email is dk835@nova.edu, and I'm always available for anybody who may have any questions. So thank you again.
All right, thank you, Danny. That was amazing. I learned some new stuff, especially what I noticed with veterans is they tend to just state the jargon, because if you're around those
I think it may have cut you off, Mia. Oh, hey, Mia, I can see you again.
Oh, I'm back.
You're back.
Anyways, so thank you, Danny. Like I said, if you have any questions, drop it, call us or drop into the Santes building, and we're on the first floor. We got upgraded. So thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.